Ready and racing.
Welcome to the Dogcast for Greyhound Racing SA. Visit grsa.com.au.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Dogcast, brought to you by Greyhound Racing SA. I'm your host, Brenton Yates, and joined by GRSA Racing Manager Sean Matheson. Matho, good to have you back, mate.
Yes, Yatesy, good to be here. Great show last edition with Lockie Stace and yourself. So, great show. And the racing's been wonderful in South Australia. Some big feature races coming up this week and plenty to talk about on the show.
Yeah, well, the Bayroad Queen, it's a race for the stayers, so we'll check out that race coming up on Thursday night. We had the heats, of course, last week, so we'll delve into that. Also, Sunday night at Gawler, a really big night out there. We've got the final of the Gawler Produce, so we'll not only preview that, but we'll review as to how it all panned out. So plenty to look at, and we'll get stuck right into it on the Dog.
The Week in Review.
Our Week in Review brought to you by the Fresh Pet Food Co. They're proud suppliers of fresh pet food for our GAP SA Greyhounds in the GAP prison programs. They are based right here in South Australia, so visit their website, freshpetfoodco.com.au for more information. The Bayroad Queen, Matho, the heats from last week of the Stayers Cup. They were races 4 and 5 on the program last Thursday night, and the first of them was taken out by the really short price favourite, Zipping Neutron. Yeah,
being terrific form, Zipping Neutron for Tim Aloisi. Pretty good run too, 42.85, fastest qualifier. Small field suited in this heat because he raced quite wide for a big part of the race and kept out of trouble. His last part of the race was really good, really strong to the line, and as mentioned, 42.85, got the job done, but he did just like to keep a bit wide, and I know that you've mentioned he sort of looks a bit new or a little bit sort of doesn't really maybe handle the bends as well here at Angle Park. What did you make?
I thought, you're right, I thought he covered a lot of ground, and particularly out of the home straight and coming off the back the first time, just doesn't appear to get around the bends as well as you'd like. But boy, when the straight part of the track's there, it just flattens out and really accelerates strongly. So, look, box 8 in the final, which we'll get to, so drawn where it did in the heat. A really nice time. I think it's still got improvement if it can just be a little bit more tractable around those bends. Second Greyhound Dashing Jinx, I thought was good. Ran home equally as well as Zipping Neutron almost, just looking at the replay.
Yeah, chased home really well, actually. And I think even just prior to turning for home, I thought half a sneaky chance, but then Zipping Neutron just sort of powered away the last little bit. A really good run for Clint Trengove. Probably a slightly disappointing Springvale Rex, or led up for Gavin Harris. I thought, okay, we know Springvale Rex is strong and likes to lead and is good over the journey, but sort of got put pay to him just off the back straight. So hopefully a little bit more improvement for Gavin in the final, But the first three obviously got the job done, but take nothing away from the winner. He was very good and as mentioned, fastest qualifier.
The second heat also taken out by box 8. This was Springvale Bray. A bit of a different scenario here, though. Was able to show really nice early speed and led all the way for Mick Giniotis.
Yeah, probably a slight surprise, Yates. He's been going really good for Mick, but it's been running placings, but showed really good speed. A nice looker as well, Springvale Bray, a very handsome type. Was able to find the front, and really they had their chance to catch Springvale Bray throughout the race. 43.05. Zipping Patch, I thought, Yates, he lobbed third early on the rail, perfect position for Ashley Griffiths, and we know this dog won the SA Distance Championship back in April. So ran home okay for second, probably felt it probably was slightly disappointing, but again, first run back for a little bit for the kennel. And then Troy Intention was a bit of an eye-catcher. I know you sort of pointed out the run of this dog, getting home really hard along the rails. Was out the back early, but then really powered home.
Yeah, and look, one Zipping Patch lob where it did, I thought, well, the race is probably done there. I think there's improvement to come going into the final with that 3 weeks between runs. The other one was Troy Intention, who settled back, did get a fair way back. That's maybe the bit of a concern, but I thought was every bit as powerful as anything else, not only in that heat, but even the previous heat. I really thought found the line with some nice strength. So might be one to keep the eyes peeled for in the final. We'll have a full preview of the Bayroad Queen final coming up soon as well. Now, we had the Gawler Produce. We had heats out there, or the two semi-finals on Sunday night. And what did you make of this? So heat number, I think I've got we've got them the wrong way around here. Here we go. So heat one was taken out by Fantastic Tommy, who showed really good speed to get over and grab the front run, running 30.87.
Yeah, really good speed, as you mentioned, Yatesy. We know that it's a short run at Gawler to the first turn, but Fantastic Tommy was able to lead clearly and then raced away into the back straight, and it was pretty much over by halfway. It was just a matter of how far Fantastic Tommy was going to win. Recorded a 30.87 time in leading throughout, which is definitely smart enough. Victor Monti for the Rasmussen team did a good job to hang on, I think, from that inside draw. But I do think the inside draw did help Victor Monti here and push through. Could Be King ran third. Yatesy just finding a little bit of trouble in his runs for the Ben Rawlings team. Again, found trouble. Began okay, actually, but copped a check. Pretty much lost all winning chance as they entered the back straight. Did a good job to run home for third, but we know the ability Could Be King has got, but just finding that little bit of trouble midfield in his races. And Silk Sonic qualified for the final on Sunday night for the Tim Richards team. Again, probably made use of the inside draw and was able to push up and run fourth. But yeah, full credit to the winner. Showed that electric early, and it was pretty much game over mid-race.
Yeah, it could be King's the improver, I think, out of the race. I think you're right. Found all sorts of trouble, but the way he's able to cop that trouble and then rebalance, like that was some heavy hits on the first bend, and also going into the back, he copped some backwash as well. Balanced up, came again. I don't think if they ran in lanes on that particular night, he would have beaten Fantastic Tommy, because I felt Fantastic Tommy was out and going, but I don't think Tommy's drawn well in the final. So we'll get to that. So that heat win or semi-win was a really nice effort, but I just think he's going to be found out a bit come final time. The other one, semi-final number 2, really interesting finish to this race. I mean, once Kurong Cam crossed from the wide draw and set up a really nice mid-race lead, I thought, well, there's the race. But gee, I don't know what happened the last 10 or 15 metres, but See My Future just really surged, and Kurong Cam stopped a bit and was grabbed right on the peg.
Yeah, I think going into the race, drawing box 8 Kurong Cam, I think because we know that he loves to get to the rail, and it's why he started even money. I mean, he would probably started a lot shorter had he drawn a lot closer, but from box 8, was he able to get across? And he actually got across pretty well.
He did, yeah.
He showed really good speed, got across and opened up a bit of a gap. See My Future, again, the box draw helped with this dog for Tracy Amos. Drawing box 1, was able to kick up early and get that second spot into the back straight, but had to make up an awful lot of ground. And as you mentioned, turning for home, I thought, oh, well, Kurong Cam's got this. But then the last little bit, he shifted wider, sort of, I wouldn't say got the staggers a little bit, but just was sort of paddling a little bit in the middle of the track. And See My Future really charged home along the inside. It was a photo finish. I mean, and See My Future just nailed him on the line by a nose. 30.84. Full credit to both of those dogs. The Rasmussen team with Victor Tony qualified in running third, and Boom Boom Jinx, who was a surprise winner in the heat the week before, put up another good performance to run fourth in the event. But, you know, Kurong Cam, we'll talk about it in the final when we talk about the Produce final. I think he led from box 8. He's drawn box 3 in the final when we talk about that. He probably looks the leader. I suppose the only query for him is someone going to sit on him and run him down?
And do what happened the other night.
Pretty much, yeah. But 30.84, still a good enough time, and that puts him right in the race. But 2 high-quality semi-finals. Good crowd out there on semi-final night at Gawler, and no doubt there'll be a huge crowd there on Sunday.
Matho, we also had some heats of the Mike Whithold's Masters Series. Mike, of course, just such a big contributor to the greyhound racing world here in South Australia, particularly at the Gawler Club as well. What's this series about, and can you tell us a bit more about what's going to play out of those 3 heats?
Yeah, well, so the club approached GRSA and said they'd like to sort of honour Mike with a race with the final culminating on Produce final night. And we're sort of looking at the areas of racing where perhaps some dogs don't get don't get too many feature races. And
Yep.
the Masters is a strong product that we have in South Australia, giving those older dogs racing opportunities. And the club felt it was quite good to name this event, a mixed Masters event, over with Mike Whitoltz, who has been a wonderful contributor over the years for the Gawler Club and the community, and
In the Masters category himself.
in the Masters
Matho.
category now, so quite appropriate. And with the 3 heats, they all qualify into an 8-dog final, $5,000 up for grabs on Sunday night, and we saw some really nice heats. Smallish fields, but the final's going to be quite a good event. I mean, the first heat taken out by Aston Hebe for Paul Fagan, 23 dead. That dog ran with Colonel Trigger running second for Ray Barkler. The second heat, Kelly's Missile for Trevor Jessup, showed really good speed. Kelly's Missile is in really good form.
Going really well.
Yeah,
Very strongly backed the run before as well and got the cash.
Early speed as well,
Yeah,
Yatesy.
yeah.
Can find the front pretty much from any box draw. Victor Mikey was a good run, I thought.
Yeah, followed
in
through
running
once it was
second.
able to get to the rail. He drew deep and then was eventually able to get to the fence and followed through quite nicely. Yeah.
And then the third heat, the fastest qualifier, 22.66, Mr. Ticket. Been a good dog for the Rawlings camp for a long while. Is a dog that does like it, probably prefers it a bit wider. So did a good job from box 2 to
And there was
kick through.
pressure there as well, wasn't there? So you had Indy Ghost on the outside and something booting up the red maybe nearer the inside, but because he wasn't flash away, like he sort of stepped maybe that 3/4 length back, but pushed really hard when the pressure was coming. So to run that time and maybe even have a little bit of improvement out of boxes as well, going to be pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, so the box draw will be quite interesting. Indy goes to run second, 8-dog final. Box draw really interesting to see where they line up. The likes of where does Kelly's Missile draw, Victor Mikey, Mr. Ticket, and Aston Hebe from the first heat, where they all draw. Will certainly go a long way to see who's favourite for the race and who's probably got the best chance. As mentioned, $5,000 up for grabs on Sunday night. We might even get a smile out of Mike for the final. That would be good to see, actually.
He's a ripper, no doubt about him. What about now Tim Richards? He's on fire up in Queensland again. This is for the Lightning Series that he was actually able to win last year with He's on fire up there.
Yeah.
Drew box 6 in the final and drew box 5 in the heats the other night and was a really nice win.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, sometimes, Yates, it's a bit hard to keep track of where all of our dogs are racing across the country. And, he popped up to Queensland for Tim. It's a short course series, 331 metres, I think.
It is.
And we know what brilliant early box speed this dog has. And so he did win the race last year.
But that box speed was on full display the other night. Like it was a 3:31 race, like you mentioned. So these are the quickest beginners of quickest beginners.
Yep.
And he was a length and a half in front like that, straight out of boxes. So just lightning out of the boxes.
The only thing because he's drawn box 8, it's just because he's going that fast. As long as he doesn't sort of give up some of the ground if he gets at the front by racing wide, turning for home.
Yep.
So probably that's the only thing. But, I mean, he's electric early. It's a really financially beneficial race. I mean, it's like about 12 or 15,000 to the winner for this race for a short course dog. As mentioned, he won it last year. So great training performance to get the dog into the final in another state and give himself a chance. So that'll be on Thursday night, Yates. He race 1, so really looking forward to that.
Oh, well, good stuff. Best of luck, Tim. We'll be watching, all eyes glued to the screens from Angle Park. We've got our preview coming up next. We'll look at the Bayroad Queen, the Gawler Produce, and get some best bets for Thursday night.
The Preview.
The preview is brought to you by SA Greyhound Tips Twitter feed. Free tips for SA Metro Greyhound meetings. Search @TheDogsSA and get on board. As always, gamble responsibly. Well, Matho, let's start with Thursday night. The Bayroad Queen final. The Stayers Cup. Have you got the feel? And is there an early market out yet or a bit early for the feature?
No, a bit early for the feature. So hopefully late on Wednesday, market should be up, but wonderful final we've got. And just touching on Bayroad Queen, I mean, this is the 18th running of the Stayers Cup. Been changed to the Bayroad Queen about 7 or 8 years ago to really recognise one of the best stayers South Australia's ever produced. I mean, through her dominance in the early 80s, that she was effectively broke a 13-year record of dominance from New South Wales and Victoria at the Nationals. She was considered the best stayer in the country at that time, and she broke the Angle Park track record, on 2 occasions inside a week. I mean, she was an absolute superstar. So a really race worth winning for these stayers, and really good to recognise one of the stars of our track in the early 80s, just when we were sort of starting out our interest into racing, Yatesy.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, I didn't realise that you'd sort of got yourself to Prime Minister type status.
Yeah.
You've got a speechwriter. So these are speech notes.
That's it.
And he's got a speechwriter that sends through all the details for Thursday night.
That's right.
You have gone up in the world, Matho. There's no doubt about that. Now, how does the box draw look for the feature on Thursday?
Okay, so out of the red, Springvale Rex for Gavin Harris. 2 is Corborn Attack for Tony Rasmussen. 3, Troy Intention for Clint Trengove. 4, Dashing Jinx, Clint Trengove. 5, Fantastic Luna for Elizabeth Chegia. Out of the 6 is Springvale Bray for Mick Giniotis. 7, Zipping Patch, Ashley Griffiths. 8, Zipping Neutron for Tim Aloisi. The reserves, Machismo, Poppy's Passion. But Yatesy, what did you think of it when the box draw came out Thursday night after the heats being run? What was your first impressions on what you feel might happen on Thursday night?
Well, I thought Zipping Neutron was naturally the one to beat. So on the back of what we'd seen Thursday night, quickest qualifier, drawn where it is in the final as well, generally likes that bit of room to move, can maybe tighten it up a bit on those bends as we spoke about before, and really powerful down the back and in the home straight. So that's where my first leaning went to. Then I went to, okay, what are the dangers? How does Zipping Neutron get beaten? And I wasn't sure that they could, but I thought one way might be if an early leader's able to skip away and set up some sort of a break and there's any sort of tangling or whatever, or the leader improves slightly. And I thought the lead could be Springvale Bray. I know it's not drawn ideally, and Rex will be burning through early, I'm sure, from box 1. I thought maybe he might be the fly in the ointment for Zipping Neutron. And the other one I liked was Troy Intention. So I really liked the way that Greyhound finished off. I've drawn 3 in the final. I felt was going to be able to slot to the rail early, and the way it charged through late, it had coming winner written all over it for me. Now, whether it's in this class on this night, I'm not sure. Whether it can, because it comes through the different heat to Zipping Neutron, so it's you can get a gauge time-wise, but whether he can get up to that level, history says he's done it before time-wise, but I really like the way he finished the race off. So they were my major 3. What did you think? Who do you think leads this race?
I'm with you. I think Springvale Rex probably leads. I know Springvale Bray led in their heat, but Springvale Rex has probably done it on a more consistent basis. And
drawn where he wants to be.
Drawn where he wants to be.
Yeah.
So I think he leads, I do. But there'll be pace in the race. So I think there'll be some gaps open up for some of these other dogs looking to get a run closer to the rail. When the box draw came out and after the heats, I was looking at, a bit like you, Zipping Neutron, favourite. How do they beat Zipping Neutron? Clearly the fastest qualifier, in red-hot form. And out in box 8, not a bad draw for a dog that does like to be a little bit wide.
Yep.
Clearly an 8-dog field doesn't help that because you're going to be wide and there's more dogs in there. But I reckon a gap might open up early, and if Zipping Neutron can sort of slot a bit closer to the rail, midfield, bit worse than midfield, and then in the straights use that power, I think it's going to be really hard to beat. So even though I think there could be a chance of someone pinching a break and him finding a bit of trouble, I just think he's still going to be, even with a little bit of adversity, I do think he's going to be the hardest to beat. So I've got Zipping Neutron on top.
Yeah.
I think Springvale Rex will run a better race, I
Yep.
think, because I do think that he will lead. And a bit like you, Troy Intention, really good run, and is going to get as long as he doesn't miss the kick too far,
Yep.
and he's not too far back, he should be hopefully be able to push up mid-race into a good position to challenge, and he's really powerful the last little bit. But a really exciting race, and we know the Stayers races, Yatesy.
Yep.
Wonderful exhibitions for the on-course and anyone watching on Sky Racing, so no doubt this will be another great addition.
The interesting part with Springvale Rex, and maybe part of the reason why on face value looked a bit disappointing after leading and getting a bit tired was he hadn't had a distance run since mid-May. So he's been over the sprint and then 2 6:43 runs and then up to the longer trip. So, look, I can see there is probably a little bit of upside like you spoke about earlier on.
Yep.
The other one I'm querying, or two, there's two more that I'd like to just touch on quickly. Dashing Jinx, who, I mean, how do you leave it out given he came home probably just as well as Zipping Neutron? And the other one is Zipping Patch. Am I dropping off a bit early for a greyhound who has shown some real ability to power home at the end of its races? And once again, was it just that first run in 3 or 4 weeks that made it look a little bit disappointing comparative to what expectations may have been as to where it lobbed early in the race?
Well, I think, Yatesy, you make a valid point. Particularly with Zipping Patch. We know the quality of this greyhound. Took out the SA Distance Championship, very powerful at the end of his races, and should get a nice drag across with Springvale Bray. Springvale Bray comes out as he did last week, or Zipping Patch gets across and could end up in that nice spot, just in off the speed, and it was only its first run back with Ashley Griffiths after a Victorian campaign. So you'd expect a little bit more improvement second up and targeting this sort of race. So definitely it's the one. With Dashing Jinx, I mean, you could almost lock it in for probably a top 4.
Yeah.
It probably hasn't won for a while. That's probably the only concern. It's probably going to be running home, but there's going to be other dogs running home at the same time. Does like to use a bit of the track. So again, box 4... probably going to be a bit worse in midfield, so we'll have to come past some strong dogs. But definitely would put it into your top 4 selections, I would have thought. But, I mean, it's still... there's a lot of intrigue around the race as to what will actually happen, particularly early. But I think the main thing is there's enough speed in the race for some of the leaders to either pinch a break, but also to open up some gaps.
Yep.
So these dogs, I think, will get their opportunity. I don't think there'll be too much bad luck in the run. They'll have their chance.
I've gone 8, 6, 3 and 4 just for the sake of numbers. Who are you, mate?
I've gone 8, 1, 8, 1, 3, and I'll put in 5 Fantastic Luna to fill a hole, I think, for mine, for the Checkier team. Hoping that dog can actually, capture some of its absolute best form over the staying trip.
Now, what about the final of the Gawler Produce? This is Sunday night at Gawler. So here's the box draw. We got Silk Sonic in box 1, Victor Monty in 2. Number 3 is Kurong Cam. Box 4 is Victor Tony. Box 5 is Boom Boom Jinx. Box 6, See My Future. In the 7 is Could Be King. And box 8 is Fantastic Tommy. That is the final for Sunday night. Pockets Watson and Elegant Ritzy, the 2 reserves in order there.
Well, what a race we've got, Yatesy. Time-honoured event, the Gawler Produce, one of the highlights of the Gawler Club's year on Sunday night. And again, when the box draw came out, I think everyone was looking to see where Kurong Cam and Fantastic Tommy would draw.
Yep.
And probably whoever drew inside the other dog would probably start favourite, probably. So I think Kurong Cam drawing 3 has a distinct advantage because it would seem as if he looks the natural leader. I think the only thing... Well, I think he looks the leader. Silk Sonic, the other Tim Richards dog out of the 1, does have good speed. Missed the kick a little bit in the semi-final, but can actually lead. So it's got good enough speed, and that's the only thing that I could see just hold Kurong Cam up a little bit from crossing to the front, but you'd expect it to lead. Silk Sonic probably lobs second. Fantastic Tommy shows hopefully some good speed from out wide. And the dogs in the middle, they don't have a lot of speed, so they'll just be sort of jostling for some positions in behind. And the key, Yatesy, for mine is where's Could Be King, ultimately. Where does he land? Is he close enough to the speed? Can he run them down? Not to discount See My Future, but I think going from box 1 to box 6 is going to be a bit of an issue for that dog.
I think it's a big problem.
Yeah. So not to say that See My Future couldn't produce another outstanding performance, but it's going to have to come from a lot further back, one would imagine. So I was looking at the dogs up on speed, the Kurong Cam, Silk Sonic, Fantastic Tommy, and Could Be King. Where do you think Could Be King will land? And did you see it similar?
I do see it pretty similar. I thought See My Future and Fantastic Tommy were the 2 worst done by in relation to the box draw, comparative to what they did in the semi-finals. Could Be King is just like Future Stars winner, obviously there at Gawler, able to find itself into a spot, but has drawn deep here, got whacked around from pillar to post last week. I don't think he begins obviously as quick as Fantastic Tommy, who's going to want to go hard to the fence.
Yep.
I feel like he might get a little bit of clear room, because if he can just miss that early Fantastic Tommy interference, who might be going down to the rail, which might be inconveniencing some of those other greyhounds, Tony, Boom Boom, See My Future, that might be sort of there, or he may even be a bit quick for them perhaps. But look, I see Could Be King being 4th or 5th around that first bend and not being a heck of a margin off them.
Yeah.
But trouble-free, I don't know. Yeah. That's my problem. I think Kuron Cam, the way it began from the 8 and zipped over and found the lead, I don't see there being any issue with the 3. I see it going boom, straight over, lead, set up, and I see it winning. So it's my top pick, Kuron Cam. I Could Be King in, if I could put the asterisk there of being trouble-free on the first bend.
Yeah.
I'd put Fantastic Tommy in for 3rd. A bit of a flyer if it's able to cross and lead. So it's not a crazy thought if you imagine that short first bend and it out and real no direct underneath speed apart from closer to the rail. It might just be able to get a bit of a slingshot around them.
Yep.
And I'll put Silk Sonic in for 4th. I didn't think it was all that bad in the semis and's come up with the 1 draw here. But I've got Kuron Cam on top, and I just wish he hadn't stumbled that last little bit last week. I would have been a lot more confident, but he's the on-topper.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd have Kuron Cam on top. I'm concerned. Could Be King is the blowout for mine. I think Could Be King could easily win this race. The thing with Could Be King is, as you mentioned, if he can lob about 4th or 5th, which I think will be a good spot, but no momentum halting interference.
Correct.
If he can just keep running into the race without that, he's going to be really dangerous at the end of this event, I think. Regardless of Kuron Cam will be up in the lead, but I think Could Be King can be running home. I think Silk Sonic for 3rd. Fantastic Tommy, like you, probably would need to lead to win. And probably if it doesn't lead, probably going to be a bit tougher, but I'd be happy to put it in for 4. So I'm a bit with you with the top 4. I think they are the ones in the market. A lot of the other dogs who are drawn in the middle would need an awful lot of luck to go their way to either lead or there's interference.
Miss trouble.
Yeah, for that to occur.
All right. What about Thursday night, Matho, as far as best bets go? You've had a flick through the program. Who do you like there?
I have. A really good program, 12 races on Thursday night. I like 2, Yatesy. I'm going to go.
Don't tell me Molly Irish is in the mix again for you, Matho.
Well, absolutely. Well, Molly Irish has been really good to me and really good to anyone who's followed the Dogcast and the selection of her. And I do like her, Yatesy, on an each-way basis, though. She's in a hot race, race 6, number 8, Molly Irish for Rob Harness. You get some nice figures about her. Yeah. She has a really good record from box 8. I reckon she's won about 4 races from out there.
Yeah, she's going well. There's no doubt.
I just think with this race, just in looking at it, Queen of Scotch, clearly the dog to beat, but she doesn't necessarily like box 1.
Yep.
And so she want to get off a bit. And there is a lot of speed through the middle. It's smudgy, Federal Outlaw. They will come out running. So I'm just thinking Molly Irish might just get a nice run across. And she was a good run last week in running 3rd. So I reckon she's improving, getting better. I think on an each-way basis, got her. My other best bet will be race 7, number 2, Raver's Army. Again, a really nice 595 metre race. Race 7, one to look at on Thursday night. And drawn really well for Raver's Army, drawn close to the rail. Should be able to just cross straight onto the rail, be just in behind the speed if it doesn't lead, and be really hard to beat for Tim Aloisi. What did you like on the night on Thursday night?
Yeah, well, that's 595 races. A lot of a rematch there of the Shane McQueen, isn't
Pretty
it?
much,
Through the final. I've gone not with a lot of courage on Thursday night, actually, Matho. I just need to get something on the board. I really like this Dogger Bill's One Last Kiss. He has had 2 starts, 2 wins. He debuted on that really wet night, ran 30.59. Went a couple of lengths better at his subsequent run. He'll be really short, but I'll be taking him into a multi with Foreshadow, who'll also be short.
Yes.
It's in race 4, number 2. I thought he'd be diving through. Perpetual might just put a bit of pepper on early in the race, but I thought he's going absolutely well enough to be taking out a race like that. And Kieran Corby's having a pretty good run of late. So they're my two. Race 3, number 4. Into race 4, number 2.
She is having a great run. I mean, almost any maiden that bobs up with her just wins, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, got a nice litter, obviously, with the Seneki Fabwick combination coming through at the moment, and had a few of those go around at Angle Park again on Monday night. I think it was a win and a placing or something from that litter. So, she's got a nice little team coming through. Very good. Well, Matho, I'll let you go and practice your little speech.
Speech organised for Thursday night. Anyone who come out onto the presentation dais will be there.
It'll be a big night, and we look forward to it. The final of the Bayroad Queen. Sunday night, we've got the Gawler Produce at Gawler, of course, the final of the Mike Whitholtz Masters too. So we look forward to that.
Big night, looking forward to it. Encourage anyone to get out onto the track Thursday night, Sunday night. Great feature racing in South Australia. Not to mention he's on fire in the first race at Albion Park.
Good stuff, Matho. Thanks for joining us on the Dogcast, and we'll see you at the track.